everybody. Podcast Paradise, episode 7, I think. And like I promised, this will be a more NBA centric episode, kind of a return to the first couple. And with me to discuss this, I have a longtime friend. So why don't you say hello?
What's up, everybody? I'm Kai Henson. Like Max said, longtime friend, a longtime NBA strategizer with Max. We've had long talks back in high school about all of the NBA shenanigans. But yeah, good to be here. Looking forward to having a good talk today.
Yeah, so I think the story of the season so far is James Harden.
Yeah, he's kind of stole the show. He's pretty much taken over all of the NBA headlines in the spotlight, and rightfully so.
hmm
Um,
So why don't you can go first because you're the guest. Why don't you give me just kind of like your thoughts on Harden summed up, and we can go from there.
I guess it starts with three letters, MVP.
Don't say
Basically,
that.
no, I mean he's been on a tear. He's put the Rockets on his back. He's put the league on notice. I mean, everybody knew he's a dominant scorer. He's manipulated the rules in his favor, and I think he's a genius for doing so. I don't discredit him at all for that, as a lot of people might. And I think he's an offensive monster. You can talk some smack about his defense or what have you, but I think he's dominant, and he's really shown what he can do. And at the end of the day, they are winning games, and I think that's what matters most at the end of the day. And with Chris Paul coming back, hopefully he can take a little bit of a breather. But I don't know, right? I guess it is tough to say, but right now he's definitely towards the top of the MVP conversation, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, the reason I said don't say that is because I have money on Giannis winning it. So
Oh shit!
yeah,
Damn. I mean, if not Harden, then definitely him. That's for sure.
yeah, I sure hope so. But
Hmm.
one thing I'm curious to kind of what the kind of a question that I've been grappling with is um like because obviously he's a great scorer.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to kind of contextualize it and be like, where in kind of like the pantheon of great scoring seasons, where does this kind of fit into that? Because
Hmm.
I've heard people, obviously the comparison that gets made on social media all the time is like
Hmm.
comparing this to '06 Kobe.
Hmm.
And
True.
I've heard people compare it to like some of the '80s Jordan
Yeah,
seasons.
then Jordan averaged 37 and all that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I also tend to think of like the Durant season where he won MVP in the
yep,
regular
yep, yep,
season.
yep.
So,
Um,
so where do you think it falls for you? Because I'm having a hard time kind of wrapping my head around this
mm,
season. Because on paper, just in terms of raw stats, it's the
yeah,
best of any of them.
yeah. On paper, it's the best. It's the best of any of them. But I don't know. I don't think. I don't think it can be put ahead of what Mike did in that season that he averaged 37. Especially, I mean, when you look at the league, was the landscape of the league was different. How he got his is a lot different. And it took a much harder work. And as far as I don't know. I think you have to rank it. I would probably rank it right below that. I mean, like you said, he's averaging 36.3 points a game, I think, right now. Shooting solid percentages. It's hard to take much away from him. I mean, except if you want to look at the film and look at the amount of times he goes to the line and the way he gets to the line. That can be kind of disputed. But besides that, it's hard to take much away from him. So for me, I would say I put him up there with Jordan's probably all time best. Right underneath that, that's for sure.
hmm One of the things that I've thought was kind of interesting about it is like, because the thing with '06 Kobe is like, we like now that that season is so kind of far. It's not far in the past, but it's in the decent past.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And because of that, we kind of like, I feel like that season has gotten kind of more idolized than it
Hmm.
deserves because during that whole
True.
season he was putting up great numbers, but his teammates hated him.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah. I mean
like
that.
in the game where he scores 81, like they barely even high five him when he checks out at the end of the game. Like,
Yeah. You talk about shot hogging and just then straight chucking. I mean, Harden does a lot less of that. They run so much pick and roll that kind of forces him out of that a little bit. But I think, yeah, like you said, his teammate Kobe's year, his teammates might have been more against him, and I think in this case, Harden's teammates are all, as far as I know, they're all in on him, and they're supporting everything he's doing. I mean, that's just been the way it is down there, and I think all the guys around him fit in pretty well. I mean, um, so yeah, if you're gonna break it down to all those small details, you could definitely have to take into account team chemistry and how the team as a whole is doing together. That's for sure.
It's weird though because like I feel like kind of that old school like Kobe season. It's almost like the other players in the league are more comfortable with that now because like
Mm-hmm.
even in that crazy Russ season where he won MVP and averaged a triple double,
Yeah,
his teammates were kind of like they were all in on him.
yeah, they were. It
Pretty
was.
much doing their hardest to let him average that triple double, even if I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that was probably the best thing for the team.
Oh, of course not. Oh, it absolutely wasn't. Not even close.
Yeah, it's like, but the players like, it's weird how they. I feel like the attitude to those types of seasons have totally changed.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think the league is a bit more star centric now, so that definitely plays into it. And with like you brought up social media before, I think like the hype machine is very crazy. So I think at their core, a lot of players are fans too. So they see the hype, they see what's going
Mm-hmm.
on, and they get right behind it, and they're all in on it. They're having fun with guys, which I think is good for team chemistry. I think it's good for the league, but I think that's a very valid point that you're making there for sure.
Mm-hmm. And that I'm glad you brought up kind of the fact that it's kind of a more of a star-centric league because
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of my main point that I wanted to bring up with the Harden season, and it kind of dovetails with like Russ's MVP season and just all
Mm-hmm.
the crazy stats you've seen in the last like 3 seasons.
Absolutely.
Um, I feel like I'm trying to think of a way to word this without it seeming like hatery, but like it
Mm.
seems like big numbers are easier to put up in the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Would you say that?
I would agree. I would definitely agree. I mean, but I was at the Nets game tonight. They put up, it was a 60-60 at halftime, and before that, we had a NBA Hardwood Classics on the TV, and it was like 51-47 in the third quarter or something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
the way the game
yeah.
is played, just produces those higher numbers. But like you said, so therefore for the stars, it is even easier to put up these gaudy numbers. And like with the
Mhm.
media frenzy and the immediacy of the stats and the highlights that are on Instagram and everything, like that's what that feeds the fans, that feeds the league, that's good for the league. So I think it not only is it a star centric league, but an offensive league in that sense too. So yeah, those numbers are easy to come by. And you look at I'd say at least like 60% of teams' offensive rebound philosophy is none at all. They just leak out. So rebounds, it's whoever's near the ball.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
hate
so
that by the way. Like
yeah,
they
it's
like
awful.
offensive rebounds were already kind of like an underutilized part of the league, and then they changed the
Mm-hmm.
rule where the shot clock doesn't reset all the way
Yeah,
after you get
yep,
an
yep, yep, yep.
offensive rebound. I don't know
So
why they did that, honestly. I feel like
that was weird. I don't know what the ulterior motives could have been, but
yeah,
that it doesn't make sense.
yeah, I think it's I don't know cuz I feel like if it were me, I would want a more balanced league where like some
Mm-hmm.
teams crash the offensive glass. Some teams play pace and space and try to just focus on transition because they're
Mm-hmm.
undersized. Like,
Mm-hmm. Instead of like widespread trends, just to kind of taking over the whole league and being the
yeah,
norm.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, back to Harden. I feel like my main point in all of this is the reason I'm having a hard time contextualizing it is because those kind of gaudy numbers are easier to come by in recent
Mm-hmm.
seasons. So because just kind of like from my own kind of like mental memory of the two
Mm-hmm.
seasons, like I feel like Durant's MVP season to me was kind of more impressive than this Harden season
Okay.
because he
Um.
he averaged 32 on 50 40 90 and
Mm.
his team won almost 60 games with him as really the only creator on the team because Russ
Very
was hurt
true.
like that whole year.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, what sticks out to me there is what you said, like you said, 50, 40, 90. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just ridiculous in and of itself.
yeah.
Um, and it's crazy how some fans, younger fans in this generation, will have gotten used to that being more of a norm. Then that's a crazy thing. That's out of bat. Like Steph has done it a couple times. Dirk has done it.
Mm-hmm.
Guys around, but that is absolutely obscene. 50-49. So yeah, that definitely helps his case. And I mean, yeah, because you look at Harden's percentages are solid, but not even close to that. So I think that like that's a very, very good point. That might catapult Kevin Durant's MVP season a little higher for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I kind of look at like the Jordan 88 season where he went 35 a game on 53% shooting, I think it is.
Mm.
I kind of look at that as one of the pinnacle seasons. I would put that above this Harden year.
Yeah, that to me is probably number one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And just because of like you said, of how these days points are easier to come by, and especially getting back all the way to the 80s. I mean, what Jordan was doing was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
He earned every single one of those buckets. So yeah, that's probably the top two seasons of all time. You could argue was a couple of hits. I mean, but definitely that one in particular, 53%. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think I would have that probably like one, and then I think I would have. I don't think I would have '06 Kobe just because it's hard for me. It's kind of hard for me to just get over like the fact that his teammates hated him like that whole year.
Yeah, that and what was their record that year? How did they finish?
They won 40 something. But I
Yeah.
think one of the things that helps his case is that they went up 3-1 on the Suns in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
that year.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean they collapsed after that.
Absolutely collapsed.
But like the fact that they got up 3-1, that's kind of ridiculously impressive, to be honest. Like
No, it really is.
um
That in and of itself speaks a lot. But yeah, I don't know where I would definitely. I don't know. I feel like I would put Harden above that '06 season for sure.
I don't know. I'm torn because it's just so because you feel so like hatery, like that you're not like respecting greatness or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I just feel like from my memory, like '06 Kobe and 14 Durant and even 16 Curry, I just feel like those offensive seasons were more impressive to me. Like they almost kind of mattered more in a way. Like even though the numbers weren't as high.
Than Harden's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were more. Yeah, I feel like they were more unique in a way. Like I don't know, maybe more unexpected is a better way to say it. Like it kind of took it by surprise. I guess obviously Harden's run has been unprecedented, but
yeah,
but it's yeah, no, I definitely understand that argument. I mean, because yeah, his game is also very. I mean, it's very structured. It's very simple. So I guess that's kind of could take away from the excitement of it as well. But yeah, no, it is tough to stack them all up. But yeah, you made some very good points about Kevin Durant's season, which makes me think more about that. And honestly, he that might get a bump up for me to argue with Harden's. I mean,
in Curry's 16 season, he was 30 a game. I think he was 50, 40, 90 too.
Yeah, he definitely was. He was probably. I think he was probably close. He could have been close to like 50, 90. I mean, honestly.
And he was shooting like 10 threes a game too.
To
shoot 10 threes a game and shoot 50% overall is ludicrous.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And Kevin Durant's season, he must have been high volume. I'm not the exact numbers. But he obviously, like you said with Russ, crazy high volume. And James is, I mean, the highest of volumes. But the other night, 5 for 20 from three. Still got the win. Still put up 61. But if you want to get nitpick a little bit, absolutely.
And just kind of another thing, like just kind of getting back to the present league a little bit, because I've been like when I pose this question to anyone, it's like. Their brain almost like crashes. They're like, "Oh my god, I don't even know how to answer this." And it's I agree. It's the hardest answer to this question that I can remember following the league. But
Mm.
Who are the 5 best players in the league right now?
That is an extremely hard question. This season, I think this season it's become more definitively hard with the rise of Giannis, the more leveling out. I don't want to say like decline of LeBron, but he's leveled out a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
this year, and it's tough. And then the weirdness with the Warriors, it's hard to talk about their start. It's hard to put that all in perspective. I mean, they are having very good seasons, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems although they are first in the West, it feels that they aren't as separated from the rest of the league as they've been in the past few seasons. Obviously, with Boogie coming back, it's seeming that way. With Boogie coming back, it's seeming that way, and it's not. I don't think it's going to change. But the first part of the year, there was definitely some question marks, especially surrounding KD with the whole drama and with the team and everything. So. But obviously, you have to have Giannis in there in the top 5. You have to have Giannis and James. To me, might be the top 2.
See, because I feel like I go about this a different way than most people. When I think of the 5 best players in the league, I think of it as like, okay, the playoffs start tomorrow. Who do I want most on my team?
Okay.
That's kind of more how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, I feel like the top 3 is locked in. I feel like
Okay.
I don't think there's any way you can argue that LeBron, KD, and Steph aren't in the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. They're still solidified. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I think the top 4, if you add in Anthony Davis, is locked in too.
Okay. I mean, talent wise, I can agree with you. But
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I don't know. It weirdly just hasn't translated into much. His talent. I mean, he has put up great numbers, but as far as
He's
the
had a
like
weird season this year. It's
um
kind of
yeah,
confusing and hard to evaluate a little bit because he's putting up the best statistics of his career,
but
and
they're still
he's
playing mediocre basketball. The Pelicans.
yeah, and the team on paper feels better than it was at the
Oh,
end
and
of last year when
exactly, and
Boogie
because
went down.
Drew Holiday is having one of his best seasons of his career, if not the best.
Hmm.
Isn't he? Am I mistaken on that?
No, he is. Yeah, he's back to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
non-injury Drew Holiday.
That's what I thought. So it's just strange to me. That's the thing. That's just my only deterrent on against Anthony Davis is they're playing sub 500 ball. But talent wise, yeah, I think you're completely right.
Hmm. Yeah, the thing for me is just I have a hard time forgetting what he did from like February to the end of last season.
Mm.
Like that was one of the most ridiculous.
Yeah, he can go. He can go on absolute tears. Yeah, that in particular was, yeah, absolutely dominant. And then the conundrum. I mean, I guess one thing you can say about him is when he's been in the playoffs, it's always been a first round exit against the Warriors.
Oh, he
Always
made
an eighth
second
seed.
round. They swept the Blazers last
They
year.
did. I forgot. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, and with Rondo, yeah, that was
Yeah,
a very
yeah,
exciting spot. That was a good run.
yeah.
So yeah, he seemed to elevate his game last season, but then come to this year, and it's like, where what a question mark for me surrounding him. I mean, you could say like how much of a leader is AD? How much do the guys rally around him? Because you see, they had a guy like Rondo, and obviously his on court impact is there, but it's not crazy. But I feel like he had played a big role in that sweep last season. I mean, and if you look historically back when Rondo was in Chicago as well, when they would have beat the Celtics
Yeah.
without. I mean, he is a that leader, that playoff, that dog that you need to put the team over the top. That little role player who just nudges it above the top. So with Anthony, it's like with Anthony Davis, this season, no Rondo. I mean, him and Drew are balling out, but they don't have really much of anybody besides. I mean, Julius Randle is having a solid season, but it's a
the problem is
little
they can't out of
awkward for
their
them to play alongside each other.
yeah, their 4 best players can't play together.
Exactly.
That's like the hardest challenge that they have.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it. Yeah, it probably hasn't been AD's fault. He has never had a perfect team builder. I mean, obviously, what is perfect, but an ideal team around him either. So so that's tough.
And then I try to imagine like if Durant or Steph was in like a similar team, and I feel like their team would be in the playoff hunt, maybe like a 6 seed, if they had 4 quality players.
Mm-hmm.
including themselves. And
Yeah.
I wonder why the Pelicans aren't better. Even
Hmm.
though I don't
Why?
expect them to be great, I just wonder why they're not a little better than they
Like
are.
the at least the in the playoffs, in the playoff picture. I mean, obviously they're on the outside looking in. They could totally make a push for the 8, but Anthony Davis, especially, could be top 4 player in the league. He should be in the playoffs. So that's the only
Hmm.
knock against him for me. But I get it totally talent wise. And if we're gonna go based on that, I don't know. You can't forget about Kawhi Leonard just because he's up in
I
Toronto. You
know.
can't forget about Kawhi Leonard. So
Yeah,
it's really.
for me, the four are kind of locked in terms of LeBron, Durant, Steph, Anthony Davis.
Hmm.
And then that 5 spot is just like, oh my God, I don't even
Yeah,
know.
Giannis, Harden, Kawhi. Who else could you put up there this season? I mean,
You
Paul
could,
George is having a
yeah,
crazy
you
season.
could put Paul George up there. You could maybe make an argument for Embiid, maybe, but
Maybe, yeah,
I think it's down to those three though: Giannis, Kawhi,
yeah,
Harden.
yeah, definitely.
And between them, I feel like I have no idea who I would even select between them. Like,
Yeah, if you could pick one, that is extremely tough. Um, I don't know. I wanna say Giannis, but but I feel like the safe choice, just a logical choice, is Kawhi. You have to just go with Kawhi out of that 3, especially if I'm trying to take in consideration what you had said about starting the playoffs today. If I want
mm-hmm,
on a playoff team, I want Kawhi Leonard. That's for sure. Especially I would take him over James Harden to start. If I'm starting the playoffs, who do I want right now?
mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Because-
Kawhi has proven before that he can on multiple postseasons. He's
exactly.
gone ballistic in the
Exactly. I was about to
playoffs.
say, you look at his track record and you compare it to, obviously, Giannis doesn't even have much of an opportunity for a track record yet, but Harden's won, by himself. He's won a couple playoff series, but it's not, and he has had some serious struggles in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's
so that's another thing. That's another reason I probably would, if we're gonna pick from those 3, I would probably give the edge to Kawhi.
mm-hmm. Yeah, they played they played the Celtics, I think like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
He made like 8 straight shots, 2 of which were like and one jumpers like in the fourth. It was
It's
ridiculous.
he's fairly automatic. I mean, his game is so fundamental. It's just so sound. He plays within himself. He's just I could go on.
Hmm.
You can go on and on him. He's just an outstanding player.
I feel
Um,
like his handle has gotten better this year too. Like
I
I feel
think I
like he's
think he's
harder to
taken
stop
a
getting to
jump.
the rim.
Yeah, I think he's taken an overall step forward this season. I don't know if it's like motivation after the whole saga that unfolded and everything, but
Hmm.
the Raptors the Raptors are obviously. I mean, it's not like they're not talked about, but they're I feel like they're a little slept on as far as serious title contenders. I mean,
Hmm.
they you might wake up all of a sudden and they're just sitting in the NBA Finals. So
Hmm. So that's a good segue into
into topic number 2.
yeah, we want to talk about kind of the take the temperature of the title picture at this
Mm,
point,
mm,
and
absolutely.
we'll start with Toronto. I earlier like if you had asked me a month ago, I would have
Hmm.
said Toronto might be the favorite. Honestly,
To win the whole thing.
yeah.
Wow.
But the problem is Kyle Lowry just hasn't been himself in a while,
Mm,
and it's because I was honestly shocked like watching that Celtics game where I was like, okay, the Celtics have
hmm
struggled. The Raptors are really good. They might come and
It,
tear up the
just
Celtics.
annihilate them. Yeah.
And the Raptors in the fourth, like I said, Kawhi hit like 8 straight shots. He was
Hmm.
completely unguardable, and they lost.
Mm.
And they're
Yeah,
just
I didn't
they
catch that
didn't
game.
they didn't have a lot of like secondary creation opportunities after that.
Hmm.
Like they
For
have,
any other player.
yeah, with Lowry kind of not being normal Kyle Lowry, there's a lot of like, okay, now we gotta let Pascal Siakam try to beat his man off the dribble for the game-winning
Yeah,
shot.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, to isolate. I mean, when did anyone ever think that would be the case. I mean, he's taken leaps this year, but still,
he's really
to be
good.
a number 2 option on the team, you have Kyle Lowry on the roster. It's
Mm-hmm.
a little ridiculous. So, yeah, that's always been a big question mark with the Raptors is Lowry himself. Obviously, DeRozan's not there, and Kawhi's a massive upgrade, but Kyle Lowry, he's that X factor for the Raptors, and he always will be, as long as he's there. So that is a big question mark. But Serge Ibaka has been playing out of his mind this year, compared to the last couple seasons.
Yeah, he's like all of a sudden at like age 30,
all of a sudden,
back.
the Thunder title run, Ibaka all of a sudden. But I love their depth. I love the way they play. Obviously, Kawhi finally is unleashed again, and that is a scary sight. I think they're.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be there. I think they'll win the East. Honestly, I think the Raptors will definitely be there. Whether or not they'll contend with Golden State is another question. But how do you feel about the West?
Well, actually, I want to mention something about the East.
Sure.
I feel like just at the moment I'm liking Milwaukee more than Toronto because
I think
they have obviously the superstar who I would say Giannis and Kawhi is kind of a wash between them. There's not really a clear.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then the Bucks, they just have they have Middleton and Bledsoe who can kind of take some of the creative burden, and when Giannis gets double teamed, they have guys who they can go to as second and third options.
They do. They definitely do.
They have a lot of good defenders on the roster who they're not as good as Toronto, but they're a very good defensive team. And they just feel like they're harder to stop because they have more creators and more shooters than Toronto does.
That's true. And I think another thing about Milwaukee is I think Brook Lopez or a Brook Lopez-esque player was a big missing link there. I think they needed a big man who could stretch the floor and also just put up scoring numbers, and he's done that. He's been huge.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of funny to watch him just launch threes, but they fall, they go down. It's really funny, but they definitely. Yeah, it's tough. I think they're both going to be jockeying, all season long, and there's been stretches when Toronto's been the front runner, and obviously, right now you're probably right, especially with the way Kyle Lowry's been playing. Milwaukee would probably, if the playoffs started right now and they started playing a series, I would take Milwaukee in 7. I think that would be a 7-game Eastern Conference Finals. Either way.
So then we'll transition to the West a little bit. Do you think there's any chance that it's not Golden State this year in the finals?
No. After watching the way they play with Cousins, I mean, just the added bump of Cousins, it just bumps him enough. I mean, even when he out in 15 minutes, he puts up 14, and they win by a lot.
And Draymond's been playing like Draymond again.
Yeah, he's starting to get back to form. He's wacky. I don't know how I feel about Draymond. I think I feel like at some points they would be better off without him, and at some points it's like oh, there you go. That's what that is. That's why they have all these. That's why they do what they do. But no, I don't see a legitimate challenge to the Warriors. I mean, because if you're gonna go look down as far as the standings, look at number 2 and Denver. If Denver is the second best team in the West, do you think they can beat Golden State?
I just don't see it at all.
Exactly. That's yeah.
I cannot imagine watching for a 7-game playoff series, watching them try to guard just a normal Curry pick and roll action. I can't even picture them stopping that reliably.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, and I just think the Nuggets are way too young and inexperienced to actually make some serious noise against them. They have a great roster. They have a fun roster, but yeah, it's not quite their time yet.
I actually think OKC has a better chance than Denver
against. You're probably right. You are probably right. Yeah, based on not only the playoff experience they have, but this. I mean, the star power. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Jokic is a bona fide legitimate star. But But with Paul George playing the way he's playing, and I mean, well, it's obviously the problem with OKC is it's like the blessing and the curse of OKC is obviously Russell Westbrook, but he's been, I mean, he's averaging a triple double, but if you ask me, I think he's been a disaster this season. Whenever I
see
see him
just
play,
gone.
Yeah, he's just one of the least intelligent players I've ever watched. His decision making is just doesn't make sense.
I feel like now recently though, like maybe in the past month, like since his shot isn't falling, he's gotten actually a lot better as a teammate and just kind of what he does in terms of setting other guys up and kind of taking a back seat. But it's because his shot just is not
exactly. He needs to make that, acknowledge that and make that conscious decision to do so, and then he'll be much more valuable. But if he's in score first mode, that's going to be their Achilles heel and just not allow them to go anywhere.
Yeah, and then like I feel like they like this OKC for like ever since they traded Harden, they've just never had anyone who can play shooting guard that you feel safe
like confident
there.
About at all. Yeah, even when they have Person and he improves their defense by so much, it's like you can't kick out to him. That's been a huge void for a long time there for sure.
And I also feel like it's hard to like when you have Robertson out there, it's almost like you have to use him as if he's a big man. Like he has to play close to the basket and cut. So then he just kind of doesn't mesh well with Steven Adams because that's where Steven Adams is really good.
That's where he needs to be, where he thrives, and then that just shrinks the whole floor and it just causes a lot more problems.
Yeah, and then that's before you even talk about Westbrook not being able to shoot.
Exactly. That's a joke. I mean, his 3-pointers are just hilarious. It's a joke every time it goes on.
But defensively, they do have
a
recipe to give Golden State problems.
They do. I mean, and Russ's defense is better. I mean, he's been a solid defender. But I think it's taken a step up this year, and obviously PG is just his whole game has elevated. He's always been a good defender, but now he's a great defender, if not one of the best defenders in the league right now.
Yeah, he looks like that. Remember when Paul George was getting like MVP buzz like 5 years ago? Like he looks like that again.
Yeah. He's comfortable. He's confident, and I'm glad. He's definitely earned it. And he rightfully so. And I think he's not the leader of the team, but he is. He's the best player on that team as far as
I would agree. And I think an underrated thing about them too is they have flexibility now because they can play Grant at center.
And Jeremy Grant has improved immensely. I think he's averaging like 12 and 7 or something like that.
Yeah, and he's just almost like a perfect like small ball center.
He is long.
Yeah. So when Golden State gets to a point where they're just like white hot and Adams has a tough time playing, you can switch over to a small switch everything lineup when Jeremy Grant is out there, and then that kind of mitigates the Robertson shooting issue because Grant can stretch the floor.
Exactly. So they're damn near better off having Grant out there instead of somebody like Robertson because his defense is all there too. I mean Grant can guard 1 through 5. Excuse me, which is for sure. So, he is a serious weapon off the bench. Or does he start for them these days?
Yeah, he starts at the 4.
Okay.
When he comes in at the 5, that's kind
they
of
shift.
like a bench mob thing.
Absolutely.
But I to me they have the best shot at Golden State, but I just.
Yeah, but it's not. That will not happen. No. And because it was supposed to be the Rockets, and James Harden did single-handedly beat Golden State the other night, but that's one time in a 7-game series that will happen.
Yeah.
So.
And that was before they had Boogie too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was right before they got Boogie back. So there's no shot. There's no shot this year, which is fine. It's what we to expect. So you gotta just swallow it and just still watch. But then will that deter people from watching? Having Golden State back up there, that's another good question.
Hmm. Well, first, before we get to that, do you think that there's any East teams that can give them a run in the finals?
Um,
Because I think
I
the
guess
East teams are better equipped than.
I think they're better off than the any team in the West. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Hmm.
Talking about obviously Toronto and Milwaukee, and then I guess Boston's sort of in that conversation. I guess, and then you have to say Philly because I think Philly's even a higher seed than them. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't think Philly could do it. Starting from the bottom up, Boston, they've been a little dysfunctional this year. I think they have. It's just not. I don't know. It's not really meshing as well as it should. Um, I don't know if it's true. But have guys been unhappy in their roles in Boston this season?
Um, from what it seems like, it. I don't think players. Jaylen Brown, I think, has kind of been unhappy in his role.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just in general, I think it's more of like guys are certain players are either not playing as well as they can or not playing the way that they should, as opposed to like somebody being really unhappy with their role, I would say. Like, I
Yeah.
think Hayward, we thought coming back from the injury would be the old Gordon Hayward, that he hasn't been, at least not yet.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
And then
Um,
I think Al Horford hasn't played as well. He played really, really, really well last year, and he
he
hasn't
did.
been as good. Like they've needed more from Baines and the
Mm-hmm. And
Morrises,
yeah.
or the Marcuses rather. They've
Mm-hmm.
needed kind of more of that to bring like a physicality to the team that they didn't exactly need as much last year. Part of that was
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown, but also part of that was that Al Horford wasn't kind of getting pushed around like he is now.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was much more of a solid force down there.
And
Yeah, I feel
then
like it's. Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I just my main thing with their roster is I think it just is a little too congested. I mean, it's great to have great pieces, but it's just sometimes just gotta let guys live, let guys breathe, and ride it like live or die. Let them give more solid minutes. Like having just such a cluster of weapons, it can be good and it meshed well last year, but that was with a couple of guys out. So yeah, I feel like they'd be better off even just dumping a couple of players. It's hard to just pick really which ones. Um,
Because I feel like
maybe.
their problems are all fixable, I think. Like,
Mm,
because maybe not Al, because maybe he's just kind of gotten to that age where maybe
yeah,
it's
getting a
like.
little older.
But I feel like Hayward, every month he kind of gets more and more of those old school games.
Hmm.
So I feel
Yeah,
like you definitely don't want to discard Hayward, because by the end of the season or by the start of next season, he could just be back. I mean, I would imagine
a
it takes a
long
long
time.
time to recover from that fully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Jaylen Brown is young, and he played really well last year. So I
Hmm.
feel like you don't want to just discard him. He's a really valuable
Hmm.
player.
Yeah.
And then the one who I think has actually kind of caused the team a lot of problems is Tatum,
Okay.
and just kind of the way that he plays. But he's such a talent that you can't just get rid of Tatum. Like
It's true.
he
Yeah, like
he might be the
that's it.
best. He might be the second best player on the team.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the hard. Like when you look at all the guys singularly, it's like yeah, how could you get rid of them? But I mean, my opinion, I feel like if just one of those three, if one of them were gone and just freed up that rotation a little bit, I mean, it would just allow for the others to thrive. Obviously, with Hayward, it might be a special case, like you said. I'd give him more of a chance to still recover. He's still obviously he's playing, but he's got to get back up to speed. But the two young guys, and maybe they could. Yeah, obviously, it's all hypothetical, but if they could, swap one of them for a younger big man to, be behind Horford or even be better than Groom behind Horford because he's the older,
Hmm.
aging link on the squad,
Hmm.
that would maybe be the best option for their roster long term or what have you. But yeah, I think as a team they should be better than they are right now, even with all of the players that they
Hmm. Yeah, I keep coming to back to like, it seems like Tatum just really, really wants to be Kobe.
Yeah, he
Like
does. Oh, he does. And
in
he,
every interview he gives, he talks about how like he wants to be Kobe and like.
yeah, I was gonna say he's pretty. I mean, yeah, he's pretty open about it. I mean, he's trained
Mhm.
with Kobe. He's Kobe's protege in some ways.
But it translated to like he totally changed up how he played from last year.
Hmm.
Like last year he played totally complimentary last year, and
Yeah,
then
now he's
when
more,
they
yeah, much
needed it,
more
he
shot
stepped
hungry.
up. But here he's like
Hmm.
he takes so many like just bad shots
Hmm.
where he's like, I mean, he has like sort of that tough shot maker in him, but
Yeah.
it's not enough to justify like launching like deep fadeaways from like the
Yeah,
top of the
seriously.
key all the time. Like that's I feel like if everything were to stay the same and only he were to just kind of go back to how he was playing last year stylistically,
Hmm.
I feel like they'd be a lot better off. And then all of a sudden, the team would just kind of be like, "Oh, okay, like this is what was wrong."
Yeah, and this is where you don't know that point. Yeah, because you can't have one of your best supporting scorers be an absolute chucker. That's the chucker is the
Hmm.
worst. I mean, that'll be the downfall of any team.
Hmm. And then
Yeah.
also, this is something that like I feel like not a lot of people who aren't Celtics fans know because they don't watch like all the games and like watch all the minutes for the bench players. But
Hmm.
Terry Rozier is not at all what he was last
That's what
year
I
whatsoever.
thought. Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it feels like every time they put him in, except the games where Kyrie doesn't play, and so maybe this kind of gives credence to your theory because when Kyrie doesn't play and Rozier is just kind of like the point guard of the team, he does
Hmm.
play very well. But
Yeah.
whenever he comes off the bench, it's like every time he gets in the game, it's like he's just jacking shots. He's not
Hmm.
making things. He's not like playing in the team concept at all on either end.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say when he was playing so well last season. That's when Kyrie was hurt. He was the point guard. That was his That's I mean, well, obviously Kyrie was there for some of it, but I think some of Rozier's best stretches were when he was a starter.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean
if they're gonna look to flip somebody, that's definitely who
that
I
would
would
probably
look
be
at.
number one on the list. Number one on the list for sure.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes the most sense, especially because you have Smart there, and you have other guys who can bring the ball up. So it's not like you need Rozier in the rotation anyway.
And I feel like if if he's just became available, like if they just finally reached a breaking point,
Hmm.
Rozier, Brown, and the pick that Memphis owes them, and then maybe throw in like some other just future draft picks, that might
Hmm.
honestly be enough for Anthony Davis
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
do the trade and outbid anyone else.
Hmm. No, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. Because either of them is just that's a highly touted asset for sure. So I think that would probably be enough to pry him away. Um, but what is his contract in New Orleans? Is it expiring soon, or did he just? I mean, he
It expires in 2020.
okay.
Technically,
Um,
I mean he could. I think he has a player option for 2021, but I doubt he's gonna take
oh,
that.
probably not. Probably not. Yeah, it's weird that he's been in New Orleans as long as he has, honestly. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I feel like if any team has the leverage to trade for him, it's obviously it has to be Boston.
Hmm. Because I feel like all the noise has been him going to the Lakers, possibly. But
Which
I just
I
feel
mean,
like
everybody. This yeah,
I feel like Rozier Brown and like just kind of a bunch of picks from Boston. That's probably better than just like Lonzo, Ingram, and I don't know Kuzma.
yeah. Which they shouldn't even get rid of all of their prospects just for
Yeah,
Anthony.
exactly. I agree with that.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. I mean, because they have a good thing going. They have probably with the best situation they possibly could have going. Obviously, with LeBron there too, helping them develop and just making them a legitimate team. So they shouldn't break any. I don't think they should break any of that up. I mean, maybe to bring, but I feel like they should wait for free agency if they're going to try to bring in another star. I mean, I don't think they should get rid of anybody at this point.
Hmm. Yeah, I think they should definitely like just kind of see what the team is.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like if they were to trade someone, wait till next year's trade deadline. Like let it play out a little more. I mean, get rid of anyone right now would be Kentavious Caldwell Pope. That's what I would say, because that's it's been tough watching him throw threes.
But yeah, because I feel like it's Lonzo's like second year. I think it's Ingram's
it's his
third.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of I feel like coming in, we knew Ingram was gonna maybe take a few years to become.
A slow developer. That's for sure.
Maybe.
And then Kuzma's show.
I feel like selling high on Kuzma might be a worthwhile option.
Yeah, I feel like his floor is pretty low, but obviously he's shown that his ceiling is also high, like a very high ceiling, very low floor. Because I feel like he has been inconsistent, and if that could plague him, as is, he could be. I feel like Kuz could be sort of a Devin Booker type of become a Devin Booker type of star, where it's like, he puts up some numbers, but his team's bad, and his percentages are honestly pretty trash. He's not very efficient, and so yeah, definitely the selling high on Kuz would probably be the best option if they were going to make a trade. But I would keep him right now. I mean, he's taken the bulk of the scoring load when LeBron's out, and he's shown some impressive games. And like we just said, they should still wait to see what they have for sure.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's because I feel like obviously if you give up Kuzma, if you're in an Anthony Davis bidding war.
Yes. But absolutely.
Then if you're just giving up like Kuzma and not all three of them, like then you're not gonna win that bid. You're not gonna.
No. Yeah, exactly. Celtics will easily outbid that. That's for sure.
And also I feel like it can't be ruled out for them to just kind of wait, because they're in LA. They have LeBron. They have literally players. They can wait and try to acquire somebody in free agency.
Exactly.
I feel like
I think that's the best option. Yep. Wait to try to acquire somebody in free agency, and wait to see if the Warriors kind of toil off and split up, if that would ever happen. I feel like KD. I don't think KD is going to stay in Golden State. I mean, that's a whole.
For me, we can talk about that, because for me, I get that feeling too.
I think. I think he's out of there. He did what he had to do. He had great, won his titles, was still, solidified himself as, an all-time great. But yeah, I don't think, I think he probably wants his own team again, or and legacy wise, he would probably want to do that again, just to, obviously he acts and probably is, like he's not affected by all the hate and doesn't really care at all. But
he totally is.
But that's what I'm saying. But he's not going to want his legacy to be left, leave off in Golden State. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like if he's gone, and the Kawhi to LA buzz has, he just bought a house in San Diego for like
I did see that.
Yeah, I feel like you can. It would definitely be smart to just kind of wait things out.
Absolutely, no, that they have to, and I think they will. I don't see them giving up any of those core young players. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but so if KD were to leave, where would you say your number one predicted destination would be?
See, I was saying the Knicks, and then he refuted it. But I feel like obviously he would do that at this point, regardless of where it is. But that did kind of make me a little uneasy, and just how god awful they are. It's like especially that's who the Nets played tonight, and it was hard to watch. I mean, David Fizdale was like halfway onto the court, just losing his brain. I mean, they are bad. So it's like, obviously KD there, they would be a playoff team with KD there, but it's like for him to watch them, what they're doing now, and like the young pieces that might draw him in. Kevin Knox, what?
Well, you're
You
forgetting
know,
about the 7'3"
Porzingis. Yeah, Porzingis. Obviously, he's not there. No, so yeah, that is very true. But and even so, even saying how awful they are, I think my number one at this point would be New York. But he could. Um,
Well, I'll
I
I'll
do,
say right off the bat, I don't see LA.
mm,
I've heard a lot of that buzz. I just don't.
everyone says LA. Everyone says LA. LeBron started that trend. Like
Yeah.
that's always the talk. Hmm.
Hmm. But I just don't see that. Because because I feel like if you follow the logic of like, okay, so Kevin Durant leaves Golden State because he doesn't like the feedback that he just like teams up with a bunch of all-stars. I feel like then that's counterproductive to be like, all right, I won't team up with these guys. I'll just go team up with LeBron.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
feel like
true.
that's completely
That's
counter to what
not.
his
No,
logic
that's
would be if he
absolutely
left.
not. Yeah, if he still wants to play with stars, he'll just stay. If the
Yeah.
reason he would leave is a whole new clean slate. That's another reason why New York is appealing. Obviously, Porzingis is a borderline star, but he's super young and unproven and coming off an injury. That's KD's team.
Hmm.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense for sure.
And could you imagine, like, just imagine for 1 second that the Knicks get the number one pick in the draft,
Exactly.
and then all of a
Exactly.
sudden you have almost like a quasi big three with
Literally.
yeah, with
With
Zion, Porzingis, and
Zion,
Durant.
that would be yeah. So and yeah, that's another thing to think about is the next pick. It's going to be top four, for sure. So that will probably draw. That will probably be yeah even more of a draw. That I think it's
And
the most logical choice has to be the Knicks.
if they want to if they say like, okay, Zion is a little young to be in a big three with like a 31-year-old Durant who's kind of in win
Mm-hmm.
now mode,
Mm-hmm.
that that Zion Williamson pick automatically becomes by far the best asset on the
Yeah,
Anthony
the
Davis trade market.
best trade. Yep. To dump that off, you could give them any young player of the Knicks that they could possibly want. It doesn't matter because they're not like obviously besides Porzingis, but they're none of them
Hmm.
are all that great. So to chip off, literally take your pick, New Orleans, and yeah, their actual pick.
Hmm.
That could. I mean, what is there a guarantee that there is Anthony Davis officially on the market? Our teams is he gonna go?
He's not on the market per se, but it's like he's on the market. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like it's
understandably.
like if they don't get rid of him now, I don't see any way that he comes back. Like
Hmm.
I cannot imagine. It's just year after year where like
Of just mediocrity.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he always like it's always like a pattern where like he comes out super hot and in the beginning he's like talking about how much he like wants to carry this team and show that he's the best player. But then once it gets to like December, he's just like
Yeah, he's just like,
not again.
this is just
Yeah.
another one of those years. Yep.
Yeah, so
um, yeah, I know. I get. Yeah, he's. They got to make something of him for sure.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would say cuz I feel like New Orleans, I mean it's hard to swallow, but I feel like if they want to look at it realistically, they're like, okay, he's gone, so we got to maybe maximize his value. So I
Absolutely.
feel like the summer is when you have to move him and hopefully
Hmm.
try to swap him for whoever gets that Zion pick and see if they can actually make that swap work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the most logical option. Getting a very high pick and the most they can get from because there probably is only a select teams that could and or would trade for him. Obviously, uh, Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant leaning New York is one, Boston, maybe LA, but probably not.
I would see Boston definitely trading for him. I could see Toronto
Yeah, yeah,
if they
true.
want to just package a ton of their young players
Hmm.
and just kind of go all in on like Kawhi and Anthony Davis and Lowry. I could see
Hmm.
them rolling the dice with that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, especially because
I could see even the I feel like they're more of a free agency threat than a trade threat, but I feel like it at least has to be posed that the Clippers are kind of out there.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, they're gonna have cap room, and
Hmm.
the LA thing. I mean, you're still in the city, not with LeBron,
Yeah, and
not with the Lakers.
they have a lot of players they can afford to lose because they have so many just like good players on that team.
They do. Yeah, no, they really do. It could be absolutely acquired.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's tough to think. I feel like Boston is probably the most logical though with their assets.
Hmm.
To grab Anthony Davis, and because that is the piece. I mean, if they have him, they're the number one seed right now. It's not even a
Yeah,
question.
yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, so that's probably the best option. But the whole Knicks thing is very intriguing, and it's so interesting how their path to to relevance could be very quick, one of the quickest turnarounds possible after this just abysmal season. But it's just a lot would have to go their way for
Hmm.
that to be the case.
Yeah, just just kind of like from someone who doesn't have like any rooting interest in the Knicks, even I
Mhm.
want Zion or Durant on the Knicks. Like
Yeah, just
I feel like the
because they've
NBA is
been so bad.
yeah, I feel like the NBA is better when the Knicks are at least decent.
No,
I
they absolutely are.
Yeah,
Um,
it just makes the league a lot more fun. And there hasn't really been that like New York Knicks NBA legend. Like
Besides
that doesn't really
exist.
yeah,
I mean,
there's
because there's Ewing, but he never. I mean, he never won the title.
mhm.
Really was really the best of his era ever. Um, but if KD came, I mean, he would absolutely change that trend completely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that it's they are they are interesting. I mean, I love Fizz there. I think that's a great spot for him, but it's just a lot's gonna have to swing their way for things to turn around quickly. Yeah, because they are bad. They are so bad.
Yeah, and yet it's so weird how because of the way the draft and the free agency works, it's and the fact that Porzingis comes back, it's like it could just happen all of a sudden that they're good.
No, it totally could, and that's how things happen. Obviously, the Lakers, it wasn't as all of a sudden, but they were. I mean, do you think last season they weren't very good, and 2 seasons ago they were absolutely awful.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's very true.
and the league nowadays is more conducive to a quick turnaround. With the whole stars teaming up and all of that, and just boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom, moving around a lot more. Yeah, definitely.
And I also feel like the Nets can't be ruled out either.
True. They are a good young team. Their young players and their core there is very is very promising. They're good. I mean
Mhm.
they're a playoff team this year. They are going to be the sixth seed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Confident.
agree that they're a playoff team. Yeah.
Um, I mean the drop off from sixth is from them to seven is pretty big right now. They have that spot. Pretty solid, and I love what that D'Angelo Russell's finally starting to come into his own, and they don't even have Karis LeVert right now, and he was
Yeah.
averaging like
Yeah.
18 points.
Yeah, that's a good
Jared
point.
Allen is a force. Rondé Hollis Jefferson is he's shown flashes. His
Mhm.
his handle and just shot making ability has improved a lot, and they're deep. Joe Harris is playing well this
Mhm.
year. The Kurux, the dude they got, I don't
Mhm.
even know where in
Yeah.
Europe was from.
Yeah.
He's really they are a deep team.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's fun too. Like Spencer Dinwiddie is really fun,
I
honestly.
didn't even mention him. He is outstanding. I mean, they have just quietly built a top to bottom quality basketball team. Yeah,
Mhm.
that and props to Kenny Atkinson and everything he's doing, and just props to the Nets leadership for just bringing them out of that deep black hole that they were in after that
Yeah.
Celtics trade. I mean, jeez.
Yeah, that completely ruined the team, and even then, they're still better
Mm-hmm.
than the Knicks right now.
So much vastly better. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty remarkable. And yeah, they could definitely a draw. I mean, they are still in New York. It's not just like it's not the Knicks. The Knicks don't control that market. Obviously, Brooklyn is much better. If anybody does, it's them right now. And they're gonna have the cap room. They don't they don't have any big contracts on their team. So you can't. Yeah, you definitely can't rule them out. And if they got a star player like KD or something or any established star player, I think that would make the East even more interesting and hard to predict because they would
Yeah.
be a force.
I feel like I haven't heard anyone bring them up as a potential Kawhi destination this summer?
That's true.
Cause isn't that his thing? Like, isn't his uncle like a New York guy? Like, wasn't he seeing doctors in New York when
I
he was with
think
the
he
Spurs?
was. I know him and
Yeah.
his group were in New York when he should have been on the Spurs
Yeah.
bench. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is a very good point.
Yeah. I feel like that like no one's even mentioned that, but
I feel like
it
I
seems
feel
like
like
the
no
most
one's mentioning
logical destination, honestly.
that's a good point, and I feel like no one's mentioning because I feel like no one's really mentioning him going to an Eastern Conference team. Um,
Hmm.
everyone assumes he would hop back up to the West. Obviously, LA is just like the main choice. But yeah, Brooklyn would make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I think they at least get a meeting this time, which is like
absolutely,
they've never got a meeting
absolutely.
with anyone
No,
ever.
anyone at all. That's so crazy. Wow. Yeah, but they should because I think he would be intrigued. That's a good point. Yeah, because I know he did spend a lot of time in New York last season when he should have been with his team. But
Hmm. Yeah, and
yeah,
let's just say hypothetically, we have the Nets land Kawhi, and the Knicks don't even get a meeting. Do the fans just picket MSG for like the entire next
honestly,
season?
honestly, like that would maybe be the actual downfall. Like they just riot and tear the building down because it's not even doesn't even deserve to be the storied place that it's supposed to be because that's brutal. They don't have a lot of hope, and they don't have a lot of hope at the moment. But there is that could quickly turn around.
Mhm.
We will see.
All right, so
Jeez.
we have one last topic we kind of wanted to get to.
Mm.
This is just kind of something that's been on my mind kind of all year, and then there was a kind of the statistic got released that TNT's ratings for the NBA are down like 22% from last
Oh,
year.
really? Interesting.
Yeah, and I wonder if the league has reached kind of a tipping point with what we touched on at the beginning of the podcast, where like it's gotten too small. There's too much homogeny where every team is playing kind of that same style.
Hmm.
And it even goes beyond that because the style's gotten more crazy. Like, did you know that the Warriors, the first championship year, I didn't
Mm.
even realize this. They were first in pace that year, and I remember them
Really?
kind of just like running teams off the floor. If you took that pace number from that season and put it into this season, they're like middle of the pack.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah. The team. I mean, yeah. Teams are just sprinting now. Sprinting, throwing up threes. Pick and roll is a lot of teams' only play that they actually run. I mean, um, and yeah, it's tough to explain why the ratings would be down so much. I guess because the offense is so easy to come by, and I feel like a lot of people will probably nitpick and like with the gather rule. People say think everyone travels all the time, think the fouls are ridiculous, think the refs don't do anything, the players can do whatever they want and everything. Which I know some points it can be granted and it can be argued, but I mean. I feel like the game has been just pushed to its not limits, but the limits have been pushed. I mean, it's just been
Hmm.
it's just developed more, and that's the reality of it. But with that, will probably shy, especially some older fans away.
Well, that's
And
what I
push
think is
some.
crazy is because the league has been every year the league's ratings have gone up until this year
Yeah,
where
with
they
that
just
is.
go down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel
Uh,
like if that were the issue, it would have happened before. Like they wouldn't have just been rising every single year and then all of a sudden now it falls down. Like it's got to
that's
be
very true.
something it's got to be something bigger, I think, than that.
Mm. Do you have any theories?
Yeah, I have a few. So I think one of them could be the pace and the style is just kind of
Mm-hmm.
gotten to a point where,
Monotonous.
yeah, I think that could be one. I think two could be, and this is one that I heard on Twitter that I didn't even really think about. Is it
Mm.
could just be that people are tired of the Warriors, honestly,
True.
that
Yeah, I mean that.
their team is maybe like they have five All Stars now, and
Mm-hmm.
and they've already won what 4 in the last. I don't know what is it now? It's 3 in the last 4.
3 in the last 4 now. Yeah,
Yeah,
3 in the last 4.
and they have to be the favorite to win this year, and
Yeah,
so that could be it.
I think that's a very strong contender.
And another thing this probably isn't it. I feel like this, if I had to rank the theories in terms of likelihood, I would say this is the third of them. Like it's
Okay.
probably not that likely.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of more for like my personal enjoyment. I feel like the the kind of undergroundness of NBA Twitter, it's gotten almost too mainstream, I feel like.
That is a good point.
I feel like it's not as fun to like be on NBA Twitter now that like
Yeah.
all the studio shows are like dedicated to NBA Twitter, and like
Yeah.
all the goofy Twitter moments that were like you had to like the thing last year with like Chris Paul and James Harden that going
Yeah.
into the
Yep.
locker
Yep.
room.
Yep.
That was hilarious, but it was funnier back when it was like the DeAndre Jordan crisis hostage situation,
Yeah.
because
Literally.
you had to be on Twitter to understand that. Like
Mhm.
people who
To
weren't
follow
on
along with her
NBA
thing.
Twitter
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know that that was a thing really when it was going on.
And
Now
yeah, it
it's like
wasn't talked about on the talk shows and everything.
yeah. Now it's almost like it's hard to like get that level of separation where you're like, I'm the hardcore fan. Here's like the level
Yep.
of NBA consumerism where I can go above the casual fan, because it's gotten to the point where you don't even know about trades before the casual fans because everyone just has the Woj alerts.
Yep.
Like
Literally. Yeah. The alerts, they pop up immediately. There is no. Yeah, that is a good point. There is no distinction between a casual or a hardcore fan anymore. And I think it's impossible. I mean, the NBA, if you're any type of fan, it's basically force fed down your throat all the information that you could possibly want. Um, and yeah, that's probably deterring a few hardcore fans for sure.
And also, I feel like Twitter accounts like Worldwide Wob, I feel like he posts every single highlight that happens in any game.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
I
not.
feel like I feel like anyone could just go on Twitter and like see every single highlight that's ever happened this NBA season and not have to
Mhm.
even watch to see all that.
Yeah, a lot of fans are definitely Instagram fans. I mean, with the
Yeah, I
NBA, the
totally agree with that.
highlights, Bleacher Report. If you follow all those pages, not only do you see every single highlight, but you see every single one of them 4 times over, and then it gets
And
probably gets
you
a
hear
little
about
annoying.
every single little storyline too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, all the little drama is so publicized. It's not like a niche group of followers that really dig deep and like learn what's going on. Yeah, no, that is a really good point. That's definitely an underlying factor in the popularity, maybe dipping a little bit.
I would say that's 3 though. I still think number 1 for me is definitely the style of play thing.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
just
for
think
sure.
it's got. I think it because now it's like it's not even like I remember like 1 or 2 years ago when like I noticed, I was like, holy crap, like it feels like every single game a team is scoring 110 points a game, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not even like that used to
Like
be like
a
kind of a rarity.
yeah, like a high scoring for sure. Um,
And then I found out today that I was like, is the scoring getting higher? Like I know there are a bunch of like super high up like 140 games, but like is it as a whole getting higher, or are those
mhm.
just outliers? And no, it's getting higher. It's up by like 5 more points than it was
Damn.
last year.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the pace and the
The barrage of offense. I mean,
mhm.
isn't as much defense, or quality of defense or whatever you want to call it. But the offense, it's an offensive league
Yeah.
completely. And another just maybe inconsequential, but something you do have to think about. I mean, because the NFL had been on a decline the past few years, and the NFL jumped a bit this year
Mm.
with
Yeah, I
the
like that
young
theory.
the young players in the NFL, like the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and all them, and the excitement's been a little more exciting this year. People have definitely been tuning in more, especially with a lot of the controversy in the NFL. Kind of obviously not dimming down. It's definitely still talked about and still an issue, but
Mhm.
it's
So are they have their
died down
ratings
a little
like
bit.
gone
Yeah, the ratings
drastically
have
up
gone
this year?
a lot up. Yeah, they have.
Oh,
Yeah, they have. It
okay.
has improved. So that definitely could explain it for sure. Some of it.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially because like
Hmm.
NFL is in full swing right now, and
Yeah.
their regular season is a lot more impactful than the NBA regular season.
Oh yeah, by a lot because it's such a smaller sample
Yeah.
size.
Yeah, huh. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
Hmm.
I like that. That's a good theory.
Yeah, that definitely plays. Well. I think it's honestly probably all four of those things kind of combining in a perfect storm to kind of
Hmm.
dip it down a little bit. But I don't think that's a sustainable dip in ratings or anything. I think the NBA is here and here to stay, and I think I think it'll continue to grow, and especially as we were talking about with the Warriors probably hopefully splitting up at least a little bit with KD leaving, that'll help, and yeah, I mean the monotony and the just the commonality of the way that teams play is definitely a big problem. But I mean, and yeah, it's not getting any better, especially with the young players that will come out. They kind of all conducive to that style, just athletic, like
Hmm.
positionless players. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. It'll definitely just to continue to develop in different ways. But yeah, the NFL has definitely taken a little bit of the NBA's fire a little way because the NBA did definitely capitalize on the NFL's problems and
Yeah, for
controversies and
sure.
just troubles. So maybe it's coming back around a little bit.
Yeah, maybe I'd like to see what happens when like the Super Bowl is over and it's just kind of
Hmm.
NBA becomes the well, actually, then I guess March Madness kind of becomes the main thing for a while. But
True.
I'd like to see what the playoff numbers are like this year. I'd like to see
Yeah,
if there's even a decline.
that'll be the tell all. That'll be the tell all.
Hmm.
Once it's NBA time, that's when this is NBA time. Yeah, that will really see where it's at comparatively.
Hmm. Um, just kind of about the style thing. Would would you be okay with a rule change that kind of brings back kind of more variety into the league? Because I feel like I would, but I'm also not sure what that change is.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, I would, but I would just have to. I don't have for that rule change. It would have to be. Um, it would have to. Yeah, it'd have to be a logical choice. But yeah, I'm not sure what you could even implement to change it, like to deter people from shooting threes and running up and down the floor.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because the solution they used last time to like kind of open up the game and make it more fast paced was a really like off the wall solution that I never would have thought of. Like
uh,
eliminating the illegal defense rule so you can play zone. I never would have
oh,
thought that
okay.
that I never would have thought that that all of a sudden opened up the game, but
No,
it did.
that is weird. Yeah.
It's because like in retrospect it makes sense because the problem was like there was too much defense in the league and it was becoming a very like grinded out defensive league where like
Hmm.
the finals were like scoring like the teams are scoring like 60 points in a game
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was like so why would you allow the defense to have even more freedom
Exactly.
but what it did is it like it made it so that okay so now that the defense can play zone you now need shooting to counter that zone.
Exactly. So that just boosts the offensive.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a tug and pull. It's a tug and pull between the two. But you can then there's got to be some rule or some way you can find that middle ground between the two.
I feel like like one rule that I've always wanted, just to kind of throw it in there and just see what happens with this is
Hmm.
make the corner three uniform with with the rest of the line.
True. That just should be that. I mean, that just only makes sense.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
feel like there are a lot of shooters where like they make them from the corner and not really like from the
Any
top of the
yeah
arc.
yeah at all.
So I
Um,
wonder if that would make it so like okay, so now the fact that anyone can kind of stretch to the corner a little bit. Now that that's gone, maybe it'll
mhm.
push some guys who were just kind of okay shooters back towards the rim.
Yeah, back into to the mid range, back to yeah, down to like 15, 12 feet. Um, yeah, no, that would make a lot of sense, and that's just logical. I mean, it's like
Hmm.
why
Yeah,
give
why is
a
that not a
little
rule
cheap
already?
shot? It's just a little cheap shot. I mean, it's yeah, that doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure just by looking at it, it's like they literally only did it because like they couldn't fit the line in the court. So
Yeah,
they're just like,
based on
ah,
the
whatever, we'll just
dimensions that
make
they
it
wanted.
smaller,
Yeah,
whatever, who
we'll just
cares?
cut this off. Yeah, literally, and it's like, and then that changes the game drastically.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it really did. Um,
mm,
but other than that, I'm trying. I will first of all, I would definitely say go back to the old offensive rebounding. where the shot clock resets when you get the
Yeah,
ball. I feel like
that's just wrong. That's just wrong. There should never be. That's I mean, if it's the rim, shot clock resets. That's just how that works. You
and
took
the
a shot.
full
It's a
shot
shot
clock,
clock.
the
Yeah,
full
it's a
shot clock, not the
full shot
14
clock.
one that they do
Hmm.
now. The
Yeah,
full
you
24
took a
seconds.
shot. You should get the
Yeah.
time that you're supposed to have to take a shot again. I mean,
Yeah,
that just only
exactly.
makes sense.
And other than that, though, I'm trying to think of like what, because I feel like that wouldn't totally get the variety that we want. I feel like it would still
Mm-mm.
be a pretty much all pace and space league.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of like what
Yeah, it's
I don't
because
like
it's
the
so
idea of
hard.
I don't like the idea of moving the entire line back.
No, that
I've
doesn't
never
make sense.
really liked that idea.
No. That doesn't make a lot of sense. If there was some way you could make like a fast break rule, but I can't even imagine because that would just ruin. That would just like
Hmm.
cut off the entire flow of how
Yeah,
the game is played.
exactly.
Um, that is on. Yeah.
Maybe if you were just allowed if you they just got rid of a kind of more of the like they allowed you to get more contact in around the rim
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And then
True.
also I feel like they should get rid of the charge rule maybe where you
Mm.
can just kind of go in and like offensive fouls would still obviously exist, but not like the thing where you can just kind of like wait at the rim and like
Yeah,
take a
and just
charge
like
like
boop,
that.
take a charge, it's our ball. Yeah, no, totally.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. It should just be offensive foul or defensive foul. The offensive player did like an aggressive act that altered, you know, the outcome of the play or gave them an unfair advantage. That's an offensive foul. That should be it. That shouldn't. Yeah, it's a weird distinction with the charge or like the other offensive fouls, and it's just no. It should be yeah. No, I definitely can get on board with that.
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like that would help because you would you wouldn't have to spread everyone out so far away from the rim.
Hmm.
It would almost be like now you can actually like have kind of a more grinded out team that has less shooting and not be as worried about charges as you were
Hmm.
before.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, but that would probably play a small role, make
hmm
a small effect. But yeah, there probably just isn't a drastic way to change it. I mean, it just if anything, going to the teams and just having a heart to heart and be like, listen, we got we got an issue on our hands. We got to the game is becoming a little too a little too fast. We got to slow it down. But other than that, there's not like a full on. I just don't think it's really possible, if not to drastically just change just what basketball is, and that's just not going to happen.
hmm I heard one of the weirdest ideas I've ever. It was so crazy that like I heard it and I was like it was so weird that I was like, huh, I actually like kind of have to like stop and think about this. Is like,
Mm.
what if it was like baseball where the home team could set how far away the 3-point line was?
Mm.
So like imagine
Mm.
if you're a grinded out team and you're just like, all right, the 3-point line is gonna be like way out near half
Yeah,
court, so you
like literally the logo.
yeah like that would be
I mean,
so weird though.
that would be weird. That'd be just that would be funny for a little bit, but it would probably I don't think anyone would really like that in the long run, but it would that would be interesting. I mean, then you'd have guys like then when Steph would come around, he would be hitting from nearly anywhere from at all the stadiums,
Hmm.
but um yeah, but then it's like what restrictions do you have on that? You can't put the 3-point line, like all the way at like 12 feet, all the way in,
Yeah,
um,
like get the 3-point lines like at the free throw line, like you can't do
literally.
that. Yeah.
No, so it's you have to find a little balance there, but that is very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if any listeners have any suggestions,
Definitely
I
worth
definitely
sharing.
yeah, I definitely like hearing those because I'm absolutely stumped. I have
Hmm.
no real ideas of how to like keep basketball, but also I I guess maybe because I'm just trying to like reverse engineer the rules that got us here is like maybe if you
Hmm.
did something with the zone maybe where like there were
Hmm.
limits on it to where like
True.
maybe there's less of like okay, we need shooting, and that's also the thing is you can zone up and really make it hard to post up
Hmm.
nowadays.
Yeah.
So maybe if there was some sort of like maybe you can't maybe you can't give a hard double off the ball, maybe,
Hmm.
so that you can't deny the ball to the post as easily.
Exactly. Yeah. But and then which that's a that does make a little bit of sense. But then you get to the point where it's like you're just changing the natural just flow and the integrity of the game, like what like controlling a player's actions on the court. That could be just a natural action to go down and deny, and it's just part of the game. I mean, because if you're gonna make a drastic change like that and change the pace and how people play, it would have to be something that changes the game, and which probably wouldn't be very receptive. But
Well,
I
that's
mean,
kind of how it was like before they freed up zone, because
true,
when you couldn't play zone, it was like you had to either stay on your man or go and double team. There was no like in between,
mm,
like we're trying to like give help to this guy but also make it so I'm in
true,
range to like run around to shooters and back to my
mm-hmm,
guy, like.
mm-hmm, mm,
So
yeah,
I'd be open to maybe run it in like the G League for a while and just use that
exactly,
as
and
like the
that's
experiment league.
yeah, no, and that's a good resource that they have, and they could, and I think they have experimented some like simple rule to like shot clock differences
Yeah,
and things like
yeah.
that with the G League.
Yeah, didn't they play a G League game with some weird shot clock this
Yeah,
preseason? I have like a vague memory
I
of
think
that.
they did. Yeah, I think they did, and I think they've toyed with like they might have toyed with the 3-point line at some points in the G League. I don't,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's definitely a resource that they have, and anything like any of these potential ideas, that's definitely the place to start for sure.
Mhm. Or maybe they could even just be like, okay, we're holding an NBA 2K tournament with a new NBA rule change, and because then you'd have like millions of people playing like hundreds of games each with like this new rule set, and you'd have a
Hmm.
massive sample on it. I feel
Yeah,
like.
you would. Oh, you absolutely would. And like too, because so many people would be playing it at one time, and you were able to just get an idea of what the game would look like with that in. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah. The only problem is though, I don't think many 2K players are zoning up and double teaming off the ball.
Not at all. There's not cities there. That's mm.
Yeah, so I guess maybe the G League is like
Yeah. The G League is
the best place to
the
test that.
experimental value for sure.
Hmm.
Mm. Mm.
All
Yeah,
right, well we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes now.
quite the yeah quite the chat, quite the discussion. But there's
Yeah.
a lot of good things covered. Um, and yeah, once the NBA season's picking up steam, and obviously once like you said, once football ends, will be good to see where the ratings pick up and just how it how this season ends up overall.
Yeah, and I'd love to have you on again once that happens and
Yeah, absolutely. Come
suss
playoff
out
time,
more
especially,
thoughts.
I'll definitely be down to make a return. That's for sure.
Yeah, I might have to once the playoffs start, or at least when the playoff time comes around. I might have to be like split up episodes where like every
Mm,
episode will at least half be NBA.
true.
I might
Yeah,
have to do
absolutely. Because
that.
it'll just call for it. It'll call for it at the time.
Hmm.
It's an important time of year. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I guess that is the end of episode 7. Thanks for coming on and talking with me.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a good time, and thanks to all the listeners for checking it out.
Yeah, so be sure to like, subscribe, and favorite, and share with your friends if you enjoyed what you heard. And yeah, see you hopefully in episode 8.